Hi, it's the 18th of May. We're about to go through another video class. It will be the third section of the short form that we go through. And we'll begin with the listening exercises, of course. So take a very good in-breath and a long, slow out-breath to close down. And we normally do that at least 3 times. So it's important to give yourself that strong message to close down, go to sleep inside yourself. And then we awaken a deeper part of the mind that listens in and around the waist. We start to move a little faster. Take the mind down through the leg that you're sinking into. Look for the stretching support, the pressure that comes from the stretching leg. Make sure the upper body flows onto the lower body in such a way that the center pressure is increased. Of course, the foot pressure is also increased. If you're newer to the training and listening to the foot pressure, then the whole body flowing down onto the foot, it increases the foot pressure, of course. For the longer trained people, the mind has risen to in and around the waist, so they're listening to the upper body flowing onto the lower body. So the support rises from the foot to the waist, and the upper body flows onto the waist, onto the center, and you've got an increased center pressure. Of course, we're full of habits, you know. The body moves habitually, and we can't really easily observe that, as Gurdjieff said. It's not so easy to observe ourselves when we're so full of habits. But if we then make an attempt to change, then you start to see the habits because there's a struggle. The struggle is, of course, to work against the habitual mechanical responses in the body, and to actually start to see really what's happening. So it's only when you put the system under some pressure that you start to see the habits that are there. Because whilst you're not under pressure, the pressure to change something is the pressure I'm talking about. When you're not under the pressure to change something, you can barely see what's happening. You don't really know, because it's so familiar to you. All of us are the same. But when you try to refine something, to change it, then there's a pressure, puts the system under some pressure, and then you start to see the habits of what you carry around with you. So if you find yourself doing a certain habitual thing in one listening exercise, it's probably sure that it's happening in all of them, and in the form, and in all of daily life. So these exercises are a marvellous way of exploring how we are and beginning to slowly refine that. Slowly refine and change the system. You could say from one set of instinctive responses to a more refined set of instinctive responses. And of course, it's not just one cycle of refinement that we look for. This is an ever decreasing spiral, we might say, of change. So although the changes might become smaller and smaller, we still have to try to find them. We'll change to the second loosening exercise. Really good in-breath. Mind down, center down. So if we don't try to change something, if we don't try to refine something, it's unlikely that we'll see the habits that exist. It's almost for certain, it's almost guaranteed that you'll just do the same move that you've done thousands upon thousands of times before. And like my teacher says, if you could take someone and teach them 100 forms, and of course, in all of the external differences and different movements of the forms, but actually fundamentally, all of the moves would be done in the same way. So 100 forms is not the answer. Just a few relatively straightforward exercises. So we have the 5 loosening exercises of Huang Senxiang. And of course, if you do them with some degree, if you apply your intelligence to them, then your will, if you like, to change, your effort of will, and then try to make a change within them, they become a highly refined set of exercises. Then, of course, we have the forms, Chen Manqing short form or 37 movement form, Yang Cheng Fu long form, 108. And we have the Sang Feng quick fist that comes from the Fujian white crane that Master Huang adapted to harmonize with the Tai Chi principles. And then a few of us have the stick form that we do occasionally. So not very many forms in our system, but a lot of things to refine, you might say. So if you want to find water in the well, if you want to find water in the desert, if you want to dig a well in the desert, find a reasonable place and keep digging, and eventually you uncover the water table. We change to the 3rd loosening exercise. So because I've been reading Ouspensky's In Search of the Miraculous, rereading it recently with his explanations of Gurdjieff's discussions and lectures, then actually these exercises here would be ideally and are ideally suited to making a change within yourself. Ideally suited to explore, as Gurdjieff was talking about, observing, but you can't really observe while you're in the flow of your habits. So to make a change causes some struggle, and so the habits are revealed a little more strongly, you might say. Change to the 4th loosening exercise. It's a good in-breath. Out-breath, mind down, center down, shoulders down, of course. Really try to get as much movement in the shoulder blades as you can. Bend the knees, concentrate in the soles of the feet, and then bring the awareness of the forces from the soles of the feet to the lower back, and then in and around the muscles that organize the vertebrae to align. Listen as strongly as you can. As strongly as you can in and around the muscles that change the spine. So slowly we align the spine. And that sets up a listening in the spine as we turn to the fifth loosening exercise. So over and down to the back foot, flow down and into the centre. And the rear hip opens and chest opens. When you settle to the front foot, sense into the spine. So you've already got already practiced that a little in the previous exercise, so we set ourselves up a little bit. When you settle to the front foot, energizing and listening into the spine, then sit back through the spine. Over and down to the back foot. Shoulder blades dropping and the rear hip opening. Send the mind out. Settle to the front foot. So of course this is exploring the 5-phase vertical circle. Contract to lift, release and align to fall. Stretching into the ground. Then the potential unstretch that then settles to the front foot. And then we begin again. 1, breathe in and lift. 2, release and align. 3, flowing down into the stretch. Increasing the stretch until there's an unstretch. And then the neutral phase that settles to the front foot. So 1 to lift, 2 to release and align, 3 to stretch, increase the stretch, send out the mind. There's an unstretch, 4th phase that then settles to the front foot, 5th phase, and then 1, 2, 3 to stretch, 4 to unstretch, 5 to settle to the front foot again. We sit back. Breathing out, lift. Breathing out and sinking. Breathe in and lift. Breathe out and sink. Change. Over and down to the back foot. Settle into the front foot, sense into the spine. Sitting back. Over and down to the back foot. Flow down and into the centre. When you settle to the front foot, sense into the spine. Over and down to the back foot. So the rear knee, lower back, spine and shoulder blades are all changing. Send out the mind from the rear hip. The unstretch comes and then you settle to the front foot and listen into the spine, energize the spine, sit back. Over and down to the back foot. Keep flowing. You settle to the front foot and then 1 to lift, sit back and lift. 2 to release and align. 3, stretching into the ground. 4, there's an unstretch. And 5, the neutral phase of settling to the front foot. Then 1 to lift, this is contraction. 2 to release and align, releasing the muscles. 3 is the muscles lengthen under load, we increase that. Send out the mind for the unstretch, like shooting the arrow, that then settles to the front foot, spine, sit back. Over and down to the back foot. Keep changing. So the 5-phase vertical circle, try to become as clear as possible on each of the muscle phases. So contracting muscles feel different to releasing muscles, feel different to stretching muscles, feel different to unstretching muscles, feel different to the neutral phase. Each phase is more subtle than the last. So the mind state has to deepen through the exercise. So what you listen to in the first lifting exercise, that mind state's not deep enough for listening in the second phase, not deep enough for listening in the 3rd phase, 4th phase and so on. So we have to deepen the mind state. We'll sit back on this one, breathe in and lift, breathe out and sink. Breathe in and lift. Breathe out and sink. So because the loosening exercises repeat, you have a chance to deepen your mind state at each stage. And particularly in the 5-phase vertical circle, it's a good training opportunity to try to deepen for each phase. So contractions relatively easily listened to. Releasing is actually much more difficult to listen to. People will find more difficult, beginners find that more difficult. Well, everybody finds it more difficult. And then, of course, the stretching, which is really the stretching of the muscle under load. If this has some activation and then I put a weight into it or press it down, then the muscles lengthen under load, but they're stretching. They're stretching. And so it's different to the contraction, that if I put a weight here and then pick it up, that's the muscle shortening under load. Under load. So that's a contraction, that's a shortening of the muscle. And actually we want the lengthening of the muscle as the body settles onto the ground. So that's the third phase. And then the what you saw there is my genuine response. If I'm lengthening the muscle in the arm and take this one away, there's an unstretch. That's the unstretch phase. And then of course when you watch after the unstretch, it settles again. And that's the fifth phase, settling to the ground again. So these things are not unnatural, you might say. They're not. It's not something that we create. It's how the body works. There are five distinct phases in the muscles. Although most people only know two: contract and relax. And then you get the kind of difficulty in when people just think of yin and yang, hard and soft, empty and full. It creates a problem actually in their minds for actually how you create a third state, which is the interaction of the two. So this is the stretching under load is quite uncommon to be taught, really. Third section, we'll just go over the third section a couple of times. So from the single whip, snake creeps down. You sit back, the front arm lengthens, so we want it to lengthen and stretch, really. Now open the left toes. This is a lifting out of the back leg to then sink into what will become the new back leg. And I'm facing the corner, and then I turn back to the end wall with the left hand dropping and the right knee, trying not to fall over, and the right knee lifting, sinking, 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 sinking. And then step, turning to the corner, turn back to the end wall, sinking, 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 sinking. And then we turn to the corner and step back, the right hand lifts. So there's a point at which the hand's almost holding a ball, you might say. Left hand through the quad, pivot on the heel of the front foot, turn back, wrist to wrist, spiral up and out. So there's a stretch in the trunk that pulls through the left arm and the left palm turns in. And then turning to the right, sinking to the back foot, the right arm is stretching, shoulder blades dropping for the kick. Place the heel and the outside edge of the foot then to the end wall. And we're turning to the left, pivot on the ball of the left foot. Turning to the right, pivot on the heel of the left foot. Turning to the left, on the ball of the left foot, and then adjust the left foot. Wrist to wrist to the corner. Spiral up and up. This is a stretch through the trunk of the body and into the right arm, right palms turned in. Turning back, minds to the back foot. Shoulder blades are dropping for the center pressure to build. Kick. A small turn to the left, dropping to the right. Step behind. The right hand wraps the left. I'm going to adjust here because that's just because I need to in the room. So the right hand's wrapped the left, spiral up and out. So this is a stretching through the trunk again that pulls through the right arm, and let the palms turn out. Mind to the foot, mind to the center, shoulder blades dropping for the kick. Drop to the left, pull up to the right. Don't let the left hand pull back. Flow down and into the back foot. Moving in for the brush knee and twist step. Sitting back, the right arm lengthens, open the left toes. Don't let the right hand pull back, let it circle in front. Stepping through for the brush knee and twist step. Hip opens, chest opens, hands fill. Settle to the front foot, push back through the spine, open the right toes, stepping through with the left foot. Step, bend and punch. Sinking to the back leg for the punch. Body inclined about 45 degrees. Connect to the front foot, sit back through the spine. Right hand drops a little. Left hand lifts a small amount, but when the waist turns, it pulls up. Stepping through for the grass bird's tail. Ward off. Pull back. Moving in for the press. Sit back for the push. Sit back and turn. Keep sitting back and turning to the left, then turn to the right. Smooth wave of lifting through the upper body as the lower body is falling away. Shoulder blades drop. So back to single whip. We'll do that again. Snake creeps down. Pivot on the heel and then the ball of the foot. So we're looking to try to get the rear leg and rear hip to drive through the left fingers. Shoulder blades down. Settle to the front foot, push back through the spine, left arms lengthening and stretching. Open the left toes, press out of the back foot. So that's a slight lifting out of the back leg that you then sink into the left leg to the corner, sinking to the end wall. Step behind. This is a slight lifting and then sinking to the back leg to the corner, sinking to the end wall. Turn to the corner, stepping back, the right hand lifts, pivot on the heel of the front foot, ball of the front foot, wrist to the corner, stretching through the trunk as you spiral up, left palm turns in, sinking to the left leg as you turn back to the right arm stretching, shoulder blades dropping for the kick. Place the heel, turn to the left, then the right, then the left. Flow down and in, adjusting the left foot. Spiral up and out, stretching through the trunk and the right arm. Sinking, turning to the left, stretching through the left arm and the shoulder blades drop for the kick. Small turn left, drop to the right. Stepping behind and the right hand wraps the left. I'll take the step. And then we spiral up and out, stretching through the trunk, palms turn out. Mind to the foot, mind to the center, shoulder blades dropping for the kick. Drop a little left, pull up to the right. Flowing to the right foot, stepping left. Slowly turning the back foot in. Hip opens, chest opens, hands fill. Sit back through the spine. Open the left toes. Stepping through with the right. Slowly turning in the back foot as you're sinking. Shoulder blades drop, hip opens, chest opens, hands fill. Settle to the front foot, sit back through the spine, open the right toes. Step, bend down, punch, flowing to the back foot. So we're going to keep everything flowing down into the back leg. Rear hip is pushing through the right fist. Connect to the front foot, sit back, over and down to the left foot, stepping through. Grass bird's tail, ward off, pull back, press, sit back for the push, move in for the push, sit back and turn, press away from the left foot, flowing to the right foot, over and down to the back foot. Okay, we'll do it in a slightly different orientation. Snake creeps down. Try to get the shoulder blades flowing down to open the rear hip. Sit back. Sinking to the left leg. Sinking to the back leg. Step away. Sinking to the back leg. Keep sinking. Close to the corner and step back. Right hand is lifting. Spiral up and out, stretching through the trunk and the arm. Turning back, stretching through the arm for the kick. Turn to the left, right, left. Adjusting the left foot. Spiral up and out, stretching through the trunk and the right arm. Mind to the foot, mind to the centre. Dropping left. I should say turn left, drop right. Step behind. I'll take a step back. So the right hand's wrap the left, spiral up and out to the right, palms turn out, sinking to the back leg for the kick. Drop left, pull up to the right, brush knee into a step. Hip opens, chest opens, hands fill. Sit back through the spine, open the left toes, brush knee into a step. Connect to the front foot, push back through the spine, open the right toes. Stepping through for the step, bend and punch. Sitting back. Left hand lifts as you turn to the left, step through with the right. Grass bird's tail, ward off, pull back. Press. Sit back and turn. Still sitting back to the left. Flow to the right. Spiral up and out. Do that again. Snake creeps down. Step that's not in the form. Brush knee to a step. Step, bend and punch. Grass bird's tail, ward off, pull back, press, and push. Okay. Look for the stretching in the arms, separation of right and left leg. When you get to that after the golden cock or pheasant on right leg, you step away. We're really looking for the stretching through the arms that are left behind, you might say. So these ones from here, the left arm needs to be stretched by the turning of the waist. So this is the slight lifting phase that stretches through the trunk and pulls through the arm. And that's what you allow the palm to turn in with. And when you turn back, the mind's to the back foot already and turning back and the shoulder blades are dropping, you want the stretch to come into the right arm. So you're looking for that stretch, and the shoulder blades drop for the kick. And similarly on the other side, we're looking for the stretch through the activated arms. So these are lightly activated arms, and then when I turn, the stretch comes right the way through and the right palm turns in. When I turn back, the stretch through the trunk comes right the way through the left arm, and the shoulder blades are dropping for the kick. You know, we've probably had this discussion, certainly in the classes, perhaps on the videos, I'm not sure, where the loosening exercises are designed to teach you to release the releasing mechanism of the muscles. That's the job of at least the first stage of the loosening exercises, how to release the muscles. But the form is almost it's almost never the case that the arms are completely released. They're always doing something. They're held up in some way. So what we have to look for there is not such a full release of the arms, which we learn in the beginning stages of the loosening exercises, because we have to understand and be able to manage that mechanism. But when we understand that mechanism, we can slowly then add in the changes that don't go quite to the extreme of the full release, as they do in the loosening exercises, but those changes still happen in the form. So the example I just gave from here, say, so to the corner, and then step back. So the left arm here should be stretching as the right hand lifts. And the inside of the right arm is stretching as I sit away from it. And as I'm turning back, the left arm is stretching on the inside of the shoulder and on the outside of the right arm. And then when I spiral up and out, there's an obvious stretch through the left arm, and I allow that to turn the palm in. Allow that pull through the left arm to let the palm turn in. And there's a big stretch, an obvious stretch on the outside of the left arm. And then when I sink and turn in the other direction, I should look for a stretch in the right arm. So this is the pull through the activated muscles. So it's not that we just want movement. So you don't just want the joints to move in space. You want the influence from the centre, the influence that comes from the ground through the centre into the fingertips, to actually pull on something that's lightly activated. So you get that stretch, you get that stretching mechanism working. But what you have to know first is that you have to know that the muscles aren't locked tight. And so the loosening exercises will slowly teach how to release the muscles. And that mechanism then is used, so you don't want, say, we'll go back to this one, you don't want, say, the arms just held tight. The arms are held tight and either moving with the body or not moving with the body. Just a tight arm. That's not what we're talking about at all. It's just tight, and I'm just moving it through space. I just move it through space, It's very mechanical. And what we want is the influence from the centre to pull through the arms as if they're like an elastic band. But we have some control over how elastic the band is. So it can either be tight, like a pole, a steel pole, and it moves extremely rigidly, but it moves, of course. Or we begin to understand the mechanism of releasing, and then there's a stretch. And how much releasing, how much stretch is actually under our control. But that's a very deep part of the mind, controlling that. So something to think about anyway. We'll do the meditation. So I had intended last time to include the 5 clouds of Li Hua Qing. Perhaps we'll manage that this time. So take a really good in-breath, fill the lungs. And on the awareness, on the out-breath, bring the awareness down through the brain, closing down, melting down through the chest and trunk. Pressure in the seat. Spread the awareness out into the room. And then pull the mind back to the lower dantian. Really good in-breath, fill the lungs. Awareness to the crown of the head. Come down through the brain, the closing down. Melting down through the chest and trunk. Pressure in the seat. Awareness spreading out into the room. Beyond the room into the streets around. And then pull the awareness back from the outer world, back to yourself. And a good, gentle in-breath. And on the out-breath, allow yourself to fall into the dreaming mind. The daydreaming mind. So in the daydreaming mind, it's cut off from the outer world, cut off from the body. And we'll wake up again, a really good in-breath. Awareness to the crown of the head, come down through the brain, closing down, melting down through the chest and trunk, pressure in the seat. Awareness in the room, spread beyond the room into the local environment. Pull back from that, leaving it distant. Pull back from the room, leaving it distant, into yourself. A gentle in-breath. On the out-breath, fall into an unfathomably deep space inside yourself. Represents your inner world. Just let go and fall into your inner world. And sense into the hands and the feet. We look for the tingling fullness warmth. Spread the awareness around the hands and feet. Capture the sensations. Individual fingers and toes. Heat field. Then bring the awareness up through the ankles and wrists. We're looking for warmth and fullness mainly. Up through the lower arms and legs. Up towards the knees and elbows. Capturing the sensations. Warmth and fullness. Pull up through the upper arms and upper legs, moving smoothly up towards the hips and shoulders. And then sense simultaneously back into the forelimbs, filled with a thick, warm, pulsing liquid, as they are, of course. Surrounded by a heat field that's not limited by the edge of the skin. It exists beyond the limits of the skin by at least a fist, maybe a span. Listening out into that heat field. Then take something of that thick, warm field from the shoulders up through the neck to surround the head. The head now surrounded and cloaked in a cloud of awareness. Pull that slowly down through the head, down through the neck, down through the chest, down through the trunk, down to the base between the legs. At the perineum, a good in-breath is of gathering from all around you a cloud of light that will compress down to a fist-sized cloud of light at the base between the legs. And we'll begin the 8 paths. From there, form the intention to lift and pull the mind like a stream of something continuous round to the sacrum. Then pull it round and up to the spine, in and around the spine, up between the shoulder blades, back of the neck, crown of the head. The out-breath flowing down the front center line over the face, throat, chest, abdomen, pulling at the base. Form the intention to lift again and pull strongly round to the sacrum. Rise up the spine to the belt line and split. A couple of centimeters either side of the spine. 2 streams of light pulled up. From the out-breath, flow down over the shoulders, outsides of the arms, back to the forearms, backs of the hands, middle fingers, palms of the hands. Full concentration into the palms of the hands. Look for warmth and fullness. Pull strongly up from there, up the insides of the arms, simultaneously up onto the chest. And on the out breath, flowing down more or less the width of the nipples, either side of the chest. Two streams of light that flow down to the belt line, round to the navel. Forget the breathing, join as one, down the front center line to the base between the legs. Pull up through the central channel to the height of the solar plexus. The out breath flowing back down the same channel inside, down to the base between the legs. Spread up over the quad, the hip crease, then down the fronts and outsides of the legs. Fronts and outsides of the knees. Forget the breathing. Continue down the fronts and outsides of the shins, down to the crease in the ankle, rise onto the tops of the feet, run along the tops of the feet to the middle toes, over the middle toes and into the soles of the feet. Concentrate, looking for warmth and fullness. From there, pull strongly up again, up the instep, snaking behind the ankle, the inside backs of the calves, behind the crease in the knee, the inside backs of the thighs, as if travelling on the seam on the inside of the trousers or something, up to the base between the legs, and then inside the inside channel to the height of the navel, and the out breath back down to the base between the legs. So we're doing these 8 paths a few more times than normal, just for the health of the body, driving energy through the nervous system of the body. So we do that twice more, a little more quickly. So from the base, form the intention to lift. Pull the mind round to the sacrum and smoothly up from the base of the spine to the back of the neck, through to the crown of the head. Then flowing down the front center line, over the face, throat, chest, abdomen, pull at the base. Form the intention to lift and pull strongly round to the sacrum. Rise up the spine to the belt line and split. 2 streams of light pulled up the back. The out breath flowing down the outsides of the arms, over the forearms, backs of the hands, middle fingers, palms of the hands. Full concentration. Pull up strongly from there, up the insides of the arms, up onto the chest. The out breath flow down the 2 sides of the chest. Forget the breathing, down to the belt line. Join at the navel, down the front center line to the base. Pull strongly up again, up through to the height of the solar plexus. The out breath flowing back down the same channel to the base between the legs. Spread up over the quad, down the fronts and outsides of the thighs, knees, shins. Forget the breathing, tops of the feet, middle toes into the soles of the feet. Look for warmth and fullness. From there, pull strongly up the insides of the instep, backs of the ankles, insides of the calves, backs of the knees, insides of the thighs, to the base between the legs, inside to the height of the navel, and the out breath back to the base. One more time. From the base, pull strongly round to the sacrum, pull smoothly up the spine in such a way that it activates, through to the crown of the head. The out breath flowing down the front center line, face, throat, chest, abdomen. Pull at the base. Lift strongly again round to the sacrum, rise up the spine to the belt line and split. 2 streams either side of the spine, all the way up the back onto the tops of the shoulders. The out breath down the outsides of the arms, backs of the hands, middle fingers, palms of the hands. Full concentration. Pull strongly up the insides of the arms, simultaneously up onto the chest. Down the 2 outsides of the chest, 2 streams down the outside of the chest to the belt line. Join at the navel, flow back to the base between the legs. Pull strongly up to the height of the solar plexus. The out breath flowing back down to the base between the legs. Spread up over the quad, down the front and outsides of the thighs, knees, shins. So get the breathing onto the tops of the feet, along to the middle toes, into the soles of the feet. Full concentration, look for the warmth and fullness at the soles of the feet. Pull up again, instep, back of the ankle, inside backs of the calves, crease in the knee, inside backs of the thighs, to the base between the legs. Rise to the height of the navel inside, the out breath back to the base. So the eight paths, and now we gather the available energy with a strong effort, as if pulling a cloud of light down to in and around the lower body energy centers. So each in-breath, gather in. The out-breath, you can allow the awareness to bubble out around you. But the in-breath, gather in strongly from all around you. The out-breath, awareness rippling back out. Third time, pull strongly in. And now we shift the energy, the available energy, from the lower dantian to the middle dantian. So with a strong effort from the base, pull strongly up, as if pulling on something unstoppable up to the height of the solar plexus. On the out-breath, let the cloud of light billow out to fill the chest, the body, the heat field, and beyond into the arm's length distance. So I was asked about this before, so just use an approximation of a sphere. So below the feet and above the head, to the back and to the front. And then gather at the base again and pull strongly up, as if pulling on something unstoppable up to the height of the solar plexus. And the out-breath, just let it billow out, fill the chest, fill the body, heat field and arm's length space. So listen more in the space out here than in the body itself. For a third time, we'll gather at the base and pull strongly up, expanding out into the full arm's length distance. So we say arm's length, but it's leg length as well, or just a big sphere surrounding the body. And take hold of every point on the sphere, pull strongly in, 10 centimeters, it's about a fist. Pull strongly in, compressing what's inside. And if it were an elastic sphere, just when you let go, let it ripple back out to take its natural shape. Pull strongly in again, from the back, sides, above, pulling off all directions. And then rippling back out. For a third time, pull strongly in. And then the letting go, let it ripple back out. So this activation within the sphere is to use your intention into that with which you are listening into. And now we reduce the cloud of light and take it down to in and around the middle dantian, solar plexus. Solar plexus to the throat, armpit to armpit. Go deeply and quietly into the center of the light, centered in the middle dantian, the seat of the deep emotional. Choose some person. Just be very clear who it is. And then send the stream of light out across the distance towards that person. Surround them with the light. If the person's no longer alive, remember their name, remember their last body. You can send a thought, question or feeling. Something appropriate to a high level connection, a soul to soul connection. Then having spent a moment or two with this connection, with thanks and respect for the connection made, you leave the person surrounded with light and withdraw your intention like a stream of light back to the middle dantian. Let that expand once again out into the arm's length distance. So this is a sharing of the activity on any one level with the other levels. Then we'll take the cloud of light once again and reduce it back down to in and around the solar plexus. We'll push it up through the chest with a big effort. So it's a big effort to shift the energy from one level to the other. So push up through the chest, push up through the neck, push up from the base of the head into the center of the head. Now centered in the center of the head, the upper dantian. Allow the cloud of light once again to expand out into the arm's length sphere. So I was asked about this as well. So it's not the case that you just include to the base. You can include the whole body, right the way to the soles of the feet. So where if you do it standing or sitting, it doesn't matter really. Just allow the cloud of light, although centered in the upper dantian, to expand right out around you. And then we take the cloud of light and allow it to reduce back down to surround the head. So then now we go deeply and quietly into the center of the light, centered in the head, the upper dantian. And it's our usual practice here to connect with the inner guide or guide to the conscience. So this is an extremely deep or high part. That's only interested in your inner development. So it's a reasonable thing to ask for help on that level. Then again, with gratitude and humility, we can allow that part of the exercise to close. Allow the cloud of light to expand once again out into the arm's length distance, completely surrounding you. Then we'll allow the cloud of light once again to begin to reduce back down to surround the head. Take the cloud of light, pull it down from the head, down through the neck, down through the chest, back to the middle dantian, solar plexus. Now we'll just center it there and allow the cloud of light once again to expand out into the arm's length distance. Take the cloud of light and reduce it back down to surround the middle dantian. We do the 5 clouds of Nihua Qing. So take the cloud of light and allow it to surround the lungs, suffused in and around the lungs. And allow it to change to a cloud of white light. It's the element metal. You don't need to see it. Just a sense of a cloud of white light suffused in and around the lungs. Then we take the cloud of light and allow it to drift down through the body to surround the lower body, perhaps in and around the kidneys. And allow it to change to a blue light. Again, not necessary to be seen, just a sense of a swirling cloud of blue light suffused in and around the lower body. It's the element water. And then we take the cloud of light and allow it to drift up center and a little right to surround the liver. It changes to a swirling cloud of green light. It's the element wood, suffused in and around the liver. Then we take the cloud of light and allow it to drift up over the heart. It changes to a swirling cloud of red light, suffused in and around the heart, so the heart pulsing within the cloud of red light. It's the element fire. We take that cloud of light and allow it to drift back to the solar plexus, in and around the middle dantian. We allow it to change back to a swirling cloud of golden light. It's the element earth. And allow that cloud to expand out, once again, out into the arm's length distance. And now we'll touch back into the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet. We're looking for the tingling fullness warmth, so they're more easily captured in the feet and hands, soles of the feet, palms of the hands, and then once you've got them there, let them spread simultaneously through the whole body. So you should be a seething mass of coolnesses, warmths, fullnesses, tinglings. Listen out into the heat field. Then listen right to the edge of the heat field. So from the edge of the heat field to the edge of the large dantian, or the sphere that we use. This is where the deep emotional currents ripple before they get into the body, of course. So listen out into this space that sometimes people refer to as having a sixth sense. We don't really use that term, but where you know something's taking place before it's really happened, you might say, or a sense that you get from somebody else that they're not so good, or they are good, or whatever. So listening out into this space, we listen for that which can't quite be heard yet. We look for that can't quite be seen. Sense for that can't quite yet be sensed, but we know something's there. So by making that effort every time, we slowly build our ability, you might say. Then give ourselves the suggestion to keep a connection to this much deeper part of ourselves. And slowly we can allow the eyes to open. Okay, thanks very much. So that was the third time that we've done the third section of the short form, I think. I'll check that, I'm sure it is. Yeah, so slowly we're working our way back through the sections of the form, so I guess next time it will be the second section of the short form. You know, I fully expected that we wouldn't still be in this lockdown situation by now, so the classes, video classes are going on a little longer than I expected, but I imagine they'll be going on a little longer than, so we'll probably get to the first section of the short form. We'll probably get right the way through it, I'm guessing. So, okay, stay well and see you next time.